Just My Type Podcast.
Here we go. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Just My Type podcast about all things diabetes. My name is Dobie Maxwell. I'm one of your co-hosts. I am representing Type 2. Joining me across the USA is the lovely and talented, vivacious, dynamic, effervescent, and savvy Samantha, a.k.a. Sami Parker. Hey, Sami.
Hey, Dobie. Thanks for that nice little introduction.
Well, you know what? This is going to be fun because I'm going to ride your coattails all the way to the top. You're going to be the star, kiddo.
I'm very excited.
I'm the pit crew. You're the race driver. This is our very first episode for the public. So if you're listening to us, we really appreciate it. But we've been together for a while putting this together. And I've just got high hopes. And I know this is going to be a hit.
Me too, Dobie. I feel like we have a very good chemistry going. Little type 1, type 2 action.
That's the thing, we've got young and old going, we've got male and female going, we've got all over the board, and it's going to be great. By the way, we're sponsored today by the Diabetes app, a free social community app that brings together both type 1 and type 2 diabetics. That would be you and me, Sami, and others,
Yes.
plus their supporters. You can find community resources, and Sami and I also on the Diabetes app, so check it out. And hopefully, throughout the growth of our show, we will get a loyal group of followers, and we want to have fun, but we don't want to make fun.
No.
Getting your diabetes diagnosis is it's chilling. It is. So what we're going to do today, now we've been working together for a while, but you and I have not heard each other's diagnosis stories.
No, which I think is huge because I think learning somebody's diagnosis story is all very telling of them and their character.
And as we have guests on and we have people on, we're going to hear their story too. And we want to hear yours. So join us on social media. Tell us your story. But normally it's ladies first. I think I'm going to have to go first this time because my story is so out there, so bizarre, so off the wall. Every doctor I've ever talked to about this says, man, I've heard stories before. I have never heard one like yours. So with your permission, I'm going to go first.
Great. I don't think I'll be able to top it, so I'm ready for it.
Well, I don't think anybody wants to top it, but mine is just so out there. So you can bring us back to earth. But
Great.
I'm a comedian by trade. I've been a comedian my entire life, full time since 1985. And my entire life can be summed up in 3 words: worst case scenario. My entire life. Comedians, I say we're dented cans. That's why we're comedians. So you go see a show and you laugh, and then like the tears of a clown, you hear that story. So my story starts, it was on Father's Day. I know we have listeners around the globe. I'm not sure if they celebrate Father's Day around the world. You know what they do?
I think they do.
I mean, everybody's got fathers and mothers, but I'm not sure if they actually celebrate it. Before we start, give it thanks to our pod squad. They're based in Canada. There's a lot of people that are behind the show that work behind the scenes that are just absolutely awesome and fantastic. And I know you are a little sister, correct, Sami?
Yes. Yes, I am.
I'm a little brother. You're a little sister. Canada is like the younger sibling to the States. Unfortunately, it's the second largest country in the world land-wise, but they always get, overshadowed by the States. We want to absolutely give Canada their props in this.
Oh, yes.
So as we go forward, it was Father's Day, and I hope they celebrate Father's Day in Canada. And I had a horrible father situation, so it's never been a happy sign for me. And I was in the shower, and I don't know how to say this. I'm just going to get rid of it. One of my testicles was 4 sizes larger than the other one. And that is pretty freaky to a guy. I'm sorry, half of the population of the world has them. So if both of them would have grown to 4 times their normal size, I might have been a source of pride with it. But this was one, and it was very disturbing. And I didn't know what to do. So I got in the car, and of course, I'm a comedian, self-employed. I was on the 100% deductible insurance plan. I had no health insurance whatsoever. But this is very disturbing. I'm thinking I have to go to the emergency room. So on the way to the emergency room, I stopped at a gas station convenience store, and I bought a slice of watermelon, large slice of watermelon, and a large Gatorade, which I drank and ate. No sugar in a large slice of watermelon
Absolutely
and a
not.
large Gatorade. I had no idea. So I get to the hospital, the emergency room, and I walk in, and there was a gorgeous movie star, one of the most fantastic, beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And I'm embarrassed. I walk up to her. What seems to be your problem, sir? Well, one of my, I'm trying to swallow it. I don't want to say it. One of my testicles is 4 times larger than the other one. So she gets on the loudspeaker. This man's testicles are larger. It's like I'm at the horse races and the outdoor speakers. So I'm shrinking up, turning purple with embarrassment. So the team of doctors, they take me in and they start prodding. And there I am with my pants off. And they're looking at me, prodding and looking and pointing and making all kinds of diagnoses. And it's ultimately embarrassing. And they said, you have a blood sugar of 500. And I said, is that good? I had no idea what it was. They said, no, you have diabetes. You're not going anywhere. I said, well, no, I'm a comedian. I have shows. And the next, no, you're staying right here. You're in a danger zone. You're not going anywhere. So as I was diagnosed and they examined me, it turns out that on my testicles, I'm not making this up, I had gangrene on my testicles. That starts when your body starts decomposing when you're dead. Yeah, I've never heard of any. No doctor had ever heard of that before. He said diabetes manifests itself in unusual ways. You have the most unusual way I've ever seen in my life. So I had to stay in the hospital for 9 days. They did a surgery where they took off part of it. I could have lost all of my plumbing.
Oh my
So he said, "You're
gosh.
very, very lucky. 1 or 2 more days, you'd have been in a lot of trouble." So I never had surgery before in my life. I have no health insurance. I have no family. I was raised by my grandparents, and they're both passed away. So I'm by myself in the hospital. Very frightening. They went in there and they did what they had to do. They salvaged my plumbing. I was okay. And it's so funny because when they came out of the recovery room, they took me back to my regular hospital room. There was a movie on TV. You know who Al Pacino is?
Yes.
Al Pacino played a role. It's a pretty obscure movie. Dr. Jack Kevorkian. And if you're from not in the States,
Mhm.
Jack Kevorkian was a doctor that assisted suicides, and it was very controversial, and he passed away now. So here's a doctor talking about assisting suicides, and that's what I'm seeing as I'm being loaded out of my gurney
Yeah.
back into my bed, and I'm laughing, and the people, what are you laughing about? It's like, oh, only I, of all the movies in the world, that's the one that I got.
Crazy.
So what they had to do was they had to change the dressing. So a nurse comes in, another gorgeous movies. I wish I could meet women like this on the street. Another gorgeous nurse, and she said, "You're going to have to change the dressing on your wound. Do you have anybody? Are you married?" No, I'm not married. Do you have a significant other? At the moment, I didn't. Do you have anybody, any good friends? How many good friends would come over? It's very hard to reach down there. So they would put me on a morphine drip, rip it off, and I would scream, even in the morphine drip. It is the most excruciating pain I've ever had in my entire life. And then they gave me the insulin, and they showed me how to prick my fingers. And it was a whole experience that was the most frightening, scary, humiliating, humbling that I've ever heard anybody else talk about. But then I hear other people's diabetes stories, and they're completely different. So since that time, through diet, exercise, management, I am off medication.
Wow.
But now it's to the point where I've gone the other way, where I don't self-diagnose. I don't my blood sugar, and that's bad too. So I'm glad this show has come out into existence so we can get together and help each other. That's what we want to do. We want to entertain, we want to educate, we want to engage. Maybe you're in the same position that one of us are.
Mhm.
Maybe it's, oh boy, if Sammy and Dobie can talk about it, I can make my own health better. So that's my story in a nutshell. I never want to tell it again. So throughout our podcast now, so you want to hear my story, go back to episode 1, the mothership, where it all took off. And that's where it is. I'm going to put mine to rest. Now I want to hear yours because I know it's fascinating as well.
Well, first off, I want to comment. That is one heck of a story.
It's out there, isn't it?
I've never heard that because normally I feel like it's the basic common symptoms you notice when somebody's getting diagnosed. So that's pretty wild to me that that's how you were diagnosed and also how you noticed it. Were you feeling anything else other than just noticing your one testicle larger than the other?
Well, it's like a mango next to a radish. It was just very awkward. So that's very noticeable for a guy.
Did you have any other symptoms though?
I really didn't. Nothing,
Okay.
nothing that I noticed. Nobody in my family had diabetes, but when they drop that word, it's like a death sentence.
Yeah.
You have diabetes. It's like, no, other people get that. I don't get that. I'm healthy.
So are you do you take right now like what's your kind of routine of checking your blood sugar and whatnot?
Well, I don't, and I know I should because I felt okay.
No, that's okay. I mean, some people get it down and then they're like chilling and they don't have to.
Yeah, but I think we all should maintain. And I was doing the prick the fingers, and I'm thinking, well, I feel okay, so I kind of stopped doing it.
Mhm.
And then I went to the doctor, and I said, I stopped taking. He goes, hey, good for you. You're off it. You weaned yourself off. He goes, I was going to do it. I'm glad you did. So he encouraged it, and I kind of went on with my life. And I think not having insurance, that's a big issue in the
Yeah.
United States.
And Dobie, how old were you when you got diagnosed?
I was probably 46.
Okay, got it.
45, 46 years old at the time. So I was, older guy. And to get that to come out of nowhere, then I talked to other people and it's like, no, they've got it at that age too, because we have
And did they say like what caused it for you? Was it because I know so type 2 can be genetic, but it also can be just caused from like lifestyle. So was it
a stand-up comedian. I mean, eating fast food all the time, gone, no health regimen. I
Yeah.
mean, the heaviest thing I lift is a microphone to tell jokes. So I'll totally take the blame for that.
Yeah.
But I've since really turned my life around. I quit. So you call it pop or soda where you live? Where it's called soda. Some people call it pop.
We got soda over here.
Yeah, soda too, but whatever. I stopped drinking that. I was addicted because I have to make an 8-hour drive. Well, some people take other forms of caffeine. To me, I'm not a coffee drinker, so it was always Pepsi Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper.
Mhm.
Stop drinking that totally. Feel 1,000,000% better.
Yeah.
A diet, I think, is a big thing. We'll be talking about that in future episodes. I want to hear your story, though.
All right. Mine kind of goes back because I'm 21 currently and I was 12 when I got diagnosed. So,
Wow, frightening.
yes. Okay. So basically, I've danced my entire life and I grew up dancing at the age of 2. And I'm sure for any of you guys that are listening, I'm sure there's a few of you that also had this experience. I had 4 nights in a row that I was dancing. I think it was like 6 hours. It was like I got out of school early and I went to my rehearsal at 2 o'clock. I was dancing till like 8 or 9 that night. And it was
Whoa.
like for 4 days in a row.
Wow.
And I remember I would go to school and my best friend, Kendall, her mom was my teacher and we were in class together. And I started just getting really thirsty. I was like, oh my gosh, like I am so thirsty. And I mean, I drank water, but I was very much like, I loved Propel Zero or I loved, like vitamin water. I was like a G2 girl
Hmm.
because I had a passing out basal vagal syncope. And so I needed the electrolytes. So I was like, Gatorade. So I started drinking, like, I'm not kidding you, probably 5 cups of water in an hour. And then I started going pee like every 5 minutes. And I'd be in class,
Hmm.
my teachers would be like, Samantha, we're really sorry, but like you gotta hold it. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm about to lose it in the seat. So I started going to the bathroom nonstop. I was eating a ton. I would like go home. I kind of got blessed with a very healthy eating family.
Hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I still had my splurges here and there, but I wasn't really eating unhealthy food. Even my like snacks were very like healthy snacks. So I would be like, Mom, I'm like starving. And I would be eating enough for probably my entire family at dinner. Like,
Wow.
no joke. I was eating a half rack of ribs, mac and cheese, and a whole entire Caesar salad. Let me tell you, if I did that now, it would be a disaster. So I'd pack it away and I was drinking water, eating a ton, going to the bathroom. And then I remember by like the 5th day that I started really being thirsty, I was at school and I was like 7th grade. I was over there thinking like, oh, I'm cool. I'm in middle school and like with my friends, like got my cool Marc Jacobs backpack on. And somebody was like, Samantha, like you look really thin. And so of course I'm like, thanks guys. I've been dancing a lot, like feeling super good. I was like, oh yeah. And somebody was like, no, she was like, "You look, like, really skinny," and I was kind of, like,
Mhm.
offended, like, "Are you kidding me? Did she just say I'm ultra skinny? Like, that's offensive." So I went home and I'm like, "Whatever," and my parents were like, "Honey, I think you just need to start eating more because 'cause you're dancing a lot." So,
Mhm.
my sister had her basically dance show for high school that weekend, and my mom, she's always had 2 fears. One fear was that we get lice, which did happen prior, and then the
Oh,
second
man.
fear was that one of us would get
Was it
diagnosed
type 1 or type 2 lice?
type 1 lice.
Good, okay, just
The
checking.
infectious kind. And my cousin had type 1 diabetes on my dad's side. So my mom's fear was always like, okay, until once they're 10 years old, like we're in the safe zone. Lice won't really happen and they're not going to be diabetic. That was always like, juvenile diabetes. So finally, I was like, Mom, something's just like not right. Like I was like, I'm not feeling good. I'm eating a ton. I'm drinking a ton of water. I was losing weight. And she said I just kind of looked like flushed out. So she finally was like, okay, we're gonna go in and check you for a bladder infection.
Mhm.
So we went in and I'm over there like, okay, yeah, I'm 12, but I'm not stupid. I know from the last 3 years that my mom or like sister would be like anybody I knew that had a bladder infection, burning, like I knew the symptoms of that. And I was like, this is not that.
Mhm.
So we go in and I got there and my dad came and I was like, oh, okay, something's going on. Cause like, no offense to dads, all you dads out there, I'm sure you're so supportive and great. But my dad didn't come to doctor's appointments. That was all my mom. She was like, I'm the nurse here. I'm taking her.
Sure.
So my dad showed up. I was like, okay, this is going to be a little bit,
This is big, yeah.
yeah, like there's something going on. And then my sister came too. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, we're about to drop the mic here with something big. So went into the bathroom with my mom and she was like, just so you know, like trying to give me like a nice pre-warning. I think you might have diabetes. I'm over there like, are you freaking kidding me? What do you mean?
Wow.
So we go back in and my doctor was like, I'm really sorry to say, but you have type 1 diabetes. And I just, of course, lost it.
Sure.
Because I'm over there, you think you're invincible. Like I was over there, like I'm the youngest out of all my cousins and family. So I've always kind of had to be like 5 years older than I am. So I was like, I knew what it meant. I wasn't just like a naive 12-year-old where I was like, oh, whatever, like life's still great. I was like, oh crap. Like this is a major adjustment.
So nobody else in your family had it?
No, just my cousin on my dad's side. But
Right.
she's 7 years older than me.
Mhm.
So I was like, "Oh, I'm in the clear." So we went and we got all my blood drawn and, I was like 12 years old. And so for parents to see their 12-year-old and they're diagnosed with diabetes and they are telling you, I go to Children's Hospital that next Monday and that whole weekend they're like, no carbs, like nothing. Like I need you to
Oh man.
only eat vegetables and meats. And was fine for me, but I was like, okay. And my pediatrician, thank God, his name's Dr. Saul. He was the biggest blessing in my life. But he was like, no, 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 no. You don't need to go to the emergency because so many diabetics have to go to the emergency. And I was diagnosed, my blood sugar was 530.
That's about what mine was. We're tied there. We're
Yeah,
close.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty close. But to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I've been 530 a numerous amount of times since I was diagnosed. And
Wow.
now I'm like, oh, 530. Let's pop some insulin. Whereas before I was like traumatic, like 530. Oh my God.
Hmm.
So yeah. And so from there I was like 12 years old, went to Children's, had that 7-hour day. I was like the biggest freak about needles. So when they told me, I was like, you're funny. Like, seriously, what's the medication? And she's like,
Sure.
no, seriously. I was like, no, seriously, listen to me, biatch. Like, what am I doing? And she's like, no, you need to take insulin through injections. And so that kind of was like a definite makes you grow up even faster because you're like, okay, my purse is not filled with, my lipstick, my big whopping $5 ones. I had like juice box, glucose monitor, meter, finger prick, backup needles, insulin vials, glucose tablets. But I think it's kind of one of those things where your diagnosis honestly is just like your whole life because it's like the whole journey of it.
Yes.
But for
Yes.
me, I'm like, I would never go back and like reverse it. I would totally take a cure, but I wouldn't change the experience because I'm like, it's totally made me how I am now and be so health conscious and into health and wellness. It's like what I want to do for a career. So it's been a biggest blessing, a very bittersweet blessing.
Well, I got to say, you're a very dynamic young lady and intelligent, and I swear I can read people pretty well. And when we first met on the Zoom, say, okay, this is going to be your partner. I don't know what you thought of me, and I really don't care at this point. I looked
I
at
thought
her
you
and think,
were great.
well, good. Whew. Oh man, I thought, who's this old fart? Good Lord.
No.
But I looked at her. And I didn't have any. I said, well, she seems like a nice young lady. But I didn't get a good feeling or a bad feeling. I'm just. And then the second time we met, I'm thinking, man, you're mature. You're coming up with ideas. We can work with this kid. You're going to be really great. So now, as a 12-year-old girl, I have no idea. I was afraid enough as a man, a grown man, getting the diagnosis, and you got it as a 12-year-old girl, and you still were that mature. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Well, you definitely, when I met you, it was like great. I was like, oh, he's awesome. Because you were so like welcoming to me, which I know is like a very big part of having like a strong relationship with somebody. So
Hmm.
I appreciate that more than you know.
Well, we appreciate you. We would like to have you listening. We appreciate you, number one. But number two, we'd like to have you engage with us. Tell us your story, however you can do that. And again, we are sponsored today by the Diabetes app, free social community app that brings together type 1 and type 2 diabetics. That's the whole idea of our podcast. So those are our stories. I don't know about you. I don't ever want to tell mine again. Now I've heard yours. So we'll just direct listeners back to this one.
Mine is always written down places, written in college papers, different like I use it to talk about a numerous amount of things. But yeah, it does get exhausting. But we'd love to hear your guys' story. So if you could share it with us. We are on all things social media. We have Instagram at justmytypepod_, TikTok, justmytypepod_, Twitter, justmytypepod_, and we'd love for you to tweet at us, and Facebook at justmytypepod. If you're sharing your story on Twitter, give us a hashtag justmytype. But we'd love to hear your story. I think it's a very telling, and it's awesome to hear everybody and how they've handled it and used it to kind of like leverage their outlook on life in a positive way.
It bonds us as a community. That's what we want to have here. We want to have a fun place, not just be clinical. We're human beings that are living with
Yeah.
diabetes. We're not just statistics. And today we have a lot of features that we're going to be planning for you. Today we like to do one called the Type 2 Tangent.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I get a little bug in my craw and I want to go off on something. And today's first Type 2 Tangent, and Sammy, I know you can agree with this, myths and cures that people without diabetes say to us thinking they're a doctor and they know what to do. They have these witch doctor cures.
Biggest pet peeve.
Biggest pet peeve. Oh my goodness. They're just talking down to you. You can't have anything with sugar in it. And you can't have one carbohydrate, and it's all wrong. But they saw Dr. Phil say it one time. So now they're going to take it on us. To me, the one is what you should eat. Do you have any witch doctor cures that people
yes.
come to you with?
Oh, you have no idea.
To me, the one is eat cinnamon, a spoonful of cinnamon.
Oh, yes. Oh, have you guys tried cinnamon herbal teas? I'm like, great. Herbal teas are awesome for relaxation and maintenance, but that does not cure my diabetes.
Yeah, they think it does. Or you have a Hershey bar. You're carrying around a candy bar. Oh, it must be so good. You have a little diabetic segment, and then you just eat a candy bar, and you're all good again. That's the cure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Samantha, you need sugar? Here's some sugar. I'm like, no, I'm 250. If you give me sugar, I'm about to be a roaring you-know-what to you.
That is our diabetic myth. If you get anybody telling you that, just tell them, look, if I can see your medical certificate, I will listen to you. If not, have a nice day. Turn on the Just My Type podcast. We'll tell you the truth from trained professionals and
Yeah.
people that have it.
Hey, if you have a myth too, we'd love to hear that myth as well. So share it with us too.
Yep, we pass it on because there's always a new one that comes up. I'm never short of people telling me these off the wall, crazy. Where did you hear this? Oh well,
Oh,
my
yes.
great grandfather had diabetes, and he had to eat just sugar cane. That's all he ate 3 times a day. It's like, okay, I don't know what planet you live on, but not the same one that we do.
Oh, yeah. I have one of my favorite ones, and it's, oh my gosh, you're diabetic? Oh, my grandpa actually just passed away from diabetes. I'm like, I'm 13 years old. Maybe let's save that one for later.
Yeah, at least until I turned 16. I get my driver's license to hear about all the deaths and destruction of your family. Oh, they lost all their limbs. They
Yeah.
were a horrible basket case. Their life was miserable. Would you like some cookies, Sammy? That would be nice.
Or it's the, no, I got you a special meal. I'm like, what's my special meal? Oh, I got you leaves and chicken. I'm like, thank you. That's so kind of you. But I'll take the garbanzo beans, the potatoes, and X, Y, and Z.
Well, they sit you at your own table. It's like they don't want you to eat with the regular people. How about Thanksgiving? That's another horrible one. Thanksgiving as well. You can, if you eat well for a week, you can have anything you want on Thanksgiving, and it won't affect your diabetes. Who said that? That's a myth.
Oh, my biggest pet peeve. I laugh because part of my diagnosis when I was there, I was at the hospital and they were like to my dad, "Can you go get her a pancake and some syrup?" And I was like, in my head, like, what? Like, pancake and syrup? And it was because they wanted me to know, like, you can eat whatever you want. And totally, there's validation to nutrition is such a big impact. Like, obviously, eating healthy makes you able to control it better. But at the beginning, I remember I was like, why are they doing that? But it was because they wanted to make me feel like I'm a normal kid. Like I don't have, restrictions in that way. And I honestly think it was awesome. But it is funny. People will be like,
Okay.
why would they ever give you syrup? I'm like, why don't you mind your own beeswax?
Well, they never do. People always they always want to get in your business. So that's one of the
Yeah.
things we'll talk about too. We'll commiserate with it. We have come to almost the end of our very first episode. Thank you so much for joining us. It will always get better. This is the first one, like a sitcom or a comic book. Comic books have origins. How do the
Yeah.
characters get started? Sitcoms have the first episode. And then you watch it in later years and you look back at the first episode. Boy, they didn't come all together yet. There's no way that you can do that. So we're starting here in first gear. We're going to go all the way up. Please come along with us for the ride. We'd love to have you. And we'd like to have a feature at the end of our show, the question of the podcast of the day, and that comes from Sami.
Okay, our question. We would love to hear your guys' diagnosis stories. So please share it on all social media. Like I'd said, Just My Type Pod on Instagram with an _, Just My Type Pod. Twitter, use hashtag Just My Type, but we want to hear it. It's great. We want you guys to share it, feel inspired by our stories, and share yours to inspire us as well.
And for you people that are old like me, please find a kid to all those things that Sami just said that you didn't understand, like I didn't. They'll get you on Twitter, Schmitter, Spitter, Instagram, graham crackers, all that stuff. And please subscribe to us.
Yes, exactly what Dobie said. But again, please share it, and we will catch you guys next time. Dobie, my last saying, say la vie, baby.
See you soon.
This is the Just My Type podcast.